as she said, my name is KayeC Jones. Yes, it's really KayeC Jones. I hear all the jokes about it. But so I've been working for parks for almost 9 years now. And a little about me, I am not a Fort Wayne native. I moved up here in 17. As she said, Riparian Department, Riparian, however you wanted to pronounce it. And like she said, our basic mission, a lot of words, is just to make the rivers better. That is my job. People have a very bad thought, and they think rivers, and they think, ooh, dirty, brown, yucky, they dump, it's litter, it stinks. None of that is true, and it's part of my job to make people realize that they are worth your time. So, I'm not going to get too much in history. I'm not a historian, sorry. But as you guys, I don't know how many natives are in here. You probably a lot more than in history than I do. But, you know, because of the flooding and the reputation I've already touched, this was a large task for the Riparian Division to start with, because a lot of people think, why even bother, right? The muddy rivers, people have been dumping in them, they stink, all that stuff. But it took just a few people to realize, you know, this is a worthy adventure for us to clean up the rivers inside the rivers, from the rivers themselves. So a lot of flooding, you know, bad reputation. When we started, bridges looked like this. It was not unusual for many bridges to have log jams this size. And while I don't have a person for scale, I'd say, you know, this is the height of a person if they were staying next to this log jam. And I don't know how many people have been on the rivers and seen these log jams. They're massive. And, you know, it gets to a point where I can't tackle them with my barge, which I'm going to show in a little bit. But and the way they used to deal with this was very intrusive into, you know, the city infrastructure. They had to shut down bridges, lanes. They had to reach from above. A lot of junk in the river. So this was our task list to start with. A lot of stuff to do. There's deadheads, there's log jams, there's strainers, there's lots of litter, there's dump sites where toilets, refrigerators, you know, all you can name it. I've pulled it out of the river. You know, I have a boat that's been sawed in half and dumped into the river. Weird stuff. You name it, I've probably pulled it out of the rivers. But it's not the only thing. It's the coolest part of the job, I admit, but it's not the only part of the job that I do. Like she said, I manage invasive species, primarily honeysuckle, but there's other species as well. Honeysuckle is the primary bad guy, as probably you all know. It's everywhere. I mean, it ruins hikes once you learn what honeysuckle looks like. Can't go on a hike without looking at honeysuckle. But also, you know, because beavers are really great, and they show they're a really good indicator for river health, but they can also destroy a river corridor. So we manage and monitor beavers, that's herbivore monitoring, and geese. Geese have been a problem with our parks because these are public spaces. Geese like to leave their droppings, which is a horrible mess. These Canada geese they stay here throughout the winter, which is unnatural. So they're destroying these parks, and they're aggressive. You know, so that's part of my herbivore monitoring, that we addle their eggs in the early spring, late winter, and then we contract out somebody to come in and trap them and relocate them down. I couldn't tell you where. I don't want to know, just as long as they don't come back. But there are hundreds and hundreds of geese. So the better I can addle the eggs in the spring, the less that we have to relocate in the summer. I also manage all the dock systems. There's 4 dock systems, if everybody realizes that. There's one at Shelf, there's Headwaters, Gilbland, and Promenade. And I put those in, and I take them out, and I maintain them throughout the year. Anytime it floods, Promenade, silt gets deposited. It's a horrible mess. It's part of these river systems that you have to take the good with the bad. A lot of flooding. We've been lucky this last year. There wasn't a lot of flooding. Knock on wood. But also, you know, I have the Community Outreach Center, which is part of what I'm doing here. I work with a lot of kids. Our volunteer program is tackling honeysuckle, because I have 1 to 2 people. It's a hard task to tackle with just 2 people. So we work with schools and companies who want to put some volunteer hours in. Just last year, we worked with a high-risk youth corporation called TeenWorks. I've never heard of it until last year. They came in and they worked on Shove. If any of you are familiar with Shove, we cleared the whole section along downstream from the boat ramp, and they did great. And you know, when they put in that work, it kind of you have sweat equity. So when they talk about they go home, they talk about it, they want to go see it, and it kind of spreads, and they have this immense pride in their work. And seeing the before and after, it's very cool to see. And some of these kids have never been on the river too. So, like I said, the way they used to remove log jams. This is a good picture of what they had to do. They had to shut down the river, use a long reach excavator, and kind of try to scoop this stuff up. I mean, this was hard work, and it took many days, weeks sometimes, and it was no guarantee it was going to get it all. And most of the time when you're grabbing it like that, it's going to go down right next to the next bridge. So you're just chasing this log jam all the way down. Expensive. It was average $50K for each one of these log jam removals. And that's one bridge, one instance with no guarantee of removal. So, you know, added up, we're average 6 log jams a year, and that's if you clear it. So this is what everybody wants to know, the river barge. So this is a 30-foot flat bottom boat. It has a 6-ton knuckle boom crane. Let's see my pointer. I don't know if you guys can see this clearly or not. So this is the crane. There's the crane in action right there. This is how it looks when it's folded up. So this is very low profile. You can see there's spud bars on the side here, which act as anchors. So these can actually swing up and then pile down. They're not too effective. They actually needed to be a little longer, to be honest. So we use it just more for parking and anchoring ourselves. But the intent was to anchor ourselves and to level it out when we're using this crane. But it's effective for some instances. So there's, and you can see right here, there's a bucket attachment. This was an early on picture. We no longer have this bucket because it's too heavy. By the time we put it on this crane, I can't pick anything up. So for the most part, you can see in this left side picture right here is just a grapple. And it's very effective, and I can fish around. I can pull off the top of piles. Sometimes I like to go fishing. I just delve it down, do a little swirl. If it stops, I grab it and pull it up. I mean, it's just sometimes blind fishing. And she can, even though she's, crane terms, puny, let's be honest, she is mighty. She has pulled out a lot of debris over the years. We also have a little river boat, a service boat. This is a smaller boat, just a 16-footer, but it's kind of like our little scout where we get, where we get all the trash. So you can see just this small tidbit of what we've pulled out of the rivers. This is stuff that we could get every year. Always trash, always cards, always cones. This is a very old picture of where before they renovated the old Fort Bridge. It used to get stuff under it all the time. So we, with this small one, because it was so shallow, we could scoot in there and get the little stuff. So this is the impressive numbers where everyone wants to know how much we've done. And I equate it to school buses. We have removed 1,306 tons of woody debris over the years, which is the equivalent of 109 school buses. So if you can line that up, you know, in a parking lot, that is a lot of debris. And that's even a guesstimation because we didn't log our tonnage for the first year. We didn't think to do it. So that's probably a little under, because the first year is that first dig in of nobody's ever done it. And then, you know, this is cumulative over the years. We're cleaning it as we go, and it gets better and better. And it's probably a little, I'm probably generous. We're not so generous with that. Also with the litter, 56,000 pounds of litter, and all sorts of litter or debris. Toilets, like I said, boats, hammocks, pictures, framed pictures. I mean, all sorts of weird stuff. And I mentioned this is how dirty it gets when it floods. If you guys are familiar, this is Promenade right here. This is, oops, I keep pushing that button. This is the south side right here. There's a bench under here that's completely submerged. And I think at this point it probably would have been 14 feet. The north side, or maybe even 16 feet tall, the north side is completely submerged. The north side is actually 1 foot taller than the south side. And you know, depending on how long it stays and what the flow rate is of the river, it depends on what this looks like afterward. This is the north side. This side over here is what we've had to clean up. It's so flat, so it deposits a lot more silt on that side. This side kind of flows a little bit and accumulates down here at the very end. But this is, and the faster you get to it, the faster it's going to clean up. This is muddy, and it's not as stinky as you think it would be. But, you know, we are very much silty clay and particulates in the river, which is why it's so brown. But so, you know, that all accumulates. The water level is right where this railing is right here. So, and this would go, I mean, it's a day's work at least to blow all that off with a trash pump, which is what this is. I've already mentioned a little bit over. This is a good picture of what the destruction of this cute little guy does. He'll ring the tree and he'll kill the tree, and eventually either he'll fell the tree completely, which is rare, or he'll kill it and eventually it'll go down. And it just takes one tree to make a log jam. One tree to, you know, damage something. So we wrap trees as part of what we do. We take hardware cloth and hog rings, and we'll wrap it about 4 feet high, and they won't chew it. They won't chew through that wire. If we go to a tree or a park system where it's a little more highly visible, and hardware cloth is a little unsightly, we'll use sand paint. A lot of sand, you basically dump as much sand as to still paint on the tree, and you still go 4 feet up, and they don't like that sand texture on their teeth. It's very effective. And also trees who grow really fast. You don't want to girdle trees. It's a sand paint. Mm-hmm. So it just I try to find a really drab color, or even talk to the paint guy and put some contrasting color to make it muddy. And then you just keep dumping sand in and stir it until it's thick enough to be effective, but you can still paint on the tree.
That's not harmful to the tree?
No, actually. And if we put hardware cloth on it, depending on the tree and how fast it grows, it can girdle the tree. The paint won't. Now we have to go back and paint it or put wire around it if it's getting too big. But and it looks better depending on which color. You don't use, obviously, bright colors. Promenade has a lot of painted trees on it. You wouldn't even know it's painted. Geese. Right here you can see kind of a gross picture of what they do with all the parks and walkways. They eat the turf. They eat plant. I mean, they're just basic nuisances. And so we have a nuisance licensed contractor out here that relocates them, and we add all their eggs. Our geese population is very odd. So they pair out, they group together in winter, they start pairing off, and then when you see those pairs start to separate, you know that there's a female on a nest. But there could be anywhere between February, March, or even as far as April, but DNR says it only happens in February. I beg to differ. I have to chase those things around all the time. And basically it's very, it's unglamorous. I just go in there with a broom and shoo her off and grab an egg, dip it in oil, mark it so I know it's dipped, and put it back in the nest. Now, if you destroy the nest, which the DNR does not like, but you can record those, she's just going to lay eggs again. So if you addle the eggs, put them back in the nest, she'll continuously sit on them. She won't lay any more eggs for the season, and you destroyed 6 to 12 eggs. They say 6 to 8, but if anybody's familiar with Stevie's Island, like 8 nests with like 12 eggs in them. I mean, it's very popular. All right, this is just a tidbit. 133, more than 103, I'm sure, tons of invasive plant removal that we've done. We've hit Shove and Bloomingdale, Gilglen, Sweeney, Promenade, you name it. If it's next to the river in the riparian zone, we've hit it. Bloomingdale is a good gem of what we've done. Oh, go ahead.
That's a really cool number. How did you get that?
So we take our debris to biosolids and they give us a ticket. That's an easy track. So, and we have to kind of guess if we chip it and take it, each box truck is about 2 tons. So we keep track of that. Great show of like the river system's health. Like, I love that we have beavers. It shows that The river's getting healthier and healthier. And I've seen a lot more, from when I started in 17 to now, I've seen a lot more activity. Salamanders, frogs, like I didn't see ever any salamanders, ever. And I just saw some last year. I saw several of them. So it's very, I mean, just right on the logjam even. Like, I saw a wood duck, which is amazing, right? Like, you know, we named him Henry. Like, I saw him every morning, right? And I've seen, and I'm not a biologist, so a zooid, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that, but it's a kind of a globular attachment to logs in the river. It looks kind of like jelly. It's kind of gross looking. I'm not squeamish, but it's also a good indicator of river health. And I'd only see it on the St. Joe because it's a little cleaner. There's not so many outflows on the St. Joe that there was on the St. Mary's. But I saw it kind of on the St. Joe, but I saw some last year on the St. Mary's, which is good. It's both, they can't survive in horrible water, but then also they clean it. So I'll have to find a picture, I'm sorry I don't have one, but it literally just looks like slime and kind of a parabola shape under a log. So you lift it up, and it's just a fascinating creature, and it's a colony of creatures. So they can't survive, like I said, in horrible water. So the fact that they're there is a good show, but also they help clean the water. So go ahead.
What's it called?
It's a zooid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know
A
what you're talking
bryozin, or forgive me, I'm probably butchering that, but
right.
yeah. But no, it's very exciting, and I love my job. We're seeing all this stuff in person while you're on the rivers is super fascinating. All these creatures, and you know, the sea, you know, the rise of health within our system is super. And the only time I've ever smelled anything is just one spot on the Maumee. It does not stink. I promise you. I don't know how many people have been on the rivers. All of you guys? I would hope so. Bloomingdale is across the river from on the St. Mary's from there, and Bloomingdale is a key kind of a keystone to what we've been doing with the honeysuckle. Is first project I was working on for honeysuckle removal. It was so thick in there you couldn't see through it. It was a haven for the unhoused or homeless, however you want to say it. It was spooky. There was one singular path that connected, and people were afraid to use it. Well, we cleared all of that honeysuckle out. And there's 2 paths now, and every time I'm out there maintaining it, people will come through there and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel safer using this park. It's a great access point. Bloomingdale is a good example. It took us about, when I started, and it's established now, I mean, what is that, like 7 years? They say it's about 3 years of constant, hits of honeysuckle for it to finally get away, even if you poison it right away. And depending on who you talk to, I mean, and I primarily do, I cut it down to the stump so nobody trips over it, and then I treat the stump with a water-safe glyphosate. But sometimes I spray. For the most part, I just remove it completely. But about 30 minutes before and 30 minutes after, is they say it scabs over, and that poison won't be as effective. So, but I've hit a lot, so I couldn't say for sure. Go ahead, one, if anybody knows about Japanese knotweed.
Oh, yes.
That's a bad one.
Here.
Yeah.
Try to keep it to a couple.
Yeah, it's bad. It's worse than honeysuckle for sure. I mean, I think it's the worst one that I've dealt with so far. So fast. Hopefully we don't get any more patches. I mean, it's a beautiful plant, which is why it was brought over here. It's a large, kind of heart-shaped leaves. Actually, I think I have a picture. Oh, right there. Yeah. It's this one. Lacy leaves, large leaves. You see it's starting to encroach a little bit past Junk Ditch and along the barrier between Sweeney. So very invasive. They call it American bamboo also, which is, it can, in great circumstances, it can, like a foot a day, can grow. I mean, it's horrible. So way worse than honeysuckle.
What's its
Nathan?
Japanese knotweed.
So are you ever denied access because of,
We own a lot of land along the river, so I don't go any, and of course I would ask permission. Sometimes River City had knotweed and invasive problems, and if it drops in the water, obviously it's gonna go elsewhere. So we've been on there, hey, can I come in here, spray it, but that's the only other place we've ever had it's not owned by the city. We have just a lot of land, so, which is good, we can maintain it and preserve it. People I don't think will reverse. I mean, there's getting all this community out involved, getting them out on the rivers. I've taken people out on my barge, showing them issues and stuff. So I don't think. So I'm kind of both.
Because Tony Fleming seems to worry about the fact that it might cause even more flooding.
Well, we are in the middle of the city, right? So there's a lot of impervious surfaces it's impossible to get around. Promenade was constructed specifically, well, the dock themselves obviously is concrete. The inside, they've taken great care to try to prevent that, even though it's a brand new park with a lot of concrete. So I think there's a lot of people working behind the scenes that take that into account. There's a lot of places that still need a lot of help. There's a lot of erosion, but we're getting there. I think we'll get there. Another 10 years and everybody might be surprised at what we look like.
Also, is there any other cool wildlife that you see? I feel like I see massive soft-shell turtles along the river.
Soft shell snapping. I've seen massive snapping, about 2 feet long snapping turtles. Supposedly they're territorial, so I'll see, I think the same one, couldn't tell you, I don't tag them, I don't mess with him. He looks mean. Occasionally he'll be sunning himself next to headwaters and it looks like he's just daring for me to poke at him. But no, there was one day last year where we were out on a sunny day and we counted 55 turtles.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yes, and just on St. Mary's. Turtle, and the logs, and that's part of the balance of what I do when I'm removing logs. Primary thing is to make the water safe. Deadheads, if I didn't mention, deadheads are when a log sinks in the middle of the river, one end is shoved down into the bottom of the river, and all you see is this little tip, so it looks kind of innocuous, just this little thing, but if you run into it, it can destroy your boat, puncture your hull. So that, log jams, all that stuff is very clear hazard. But sometimes I remove logs along the bank, but I don't take all of them because, all those turtles. And there are fish hatcheries in there. So, it's a delicate balance. It looks like it's being used. There's one, the Gagbian baskets that are along the St. Joe, if anybody's, it's an erosion control method in the west central neighborhood.
Ugly.
It is, but it's kept that there, thankfully. Now, if we can figure out something to beautify it, that'd be great. But anyway, right across from that, there was a massive old sycamore log. And I knew it was going to cut loose. But you could see like 10 turtles on it. You could see activity around it. I didn't want to get rid of it, so we chained it to the trees. So it wouldn't kick out. And sycamores are so heavy anyway. I'd have to chop it into a million pieces just to get it out. We're so glad I didn't have to get it out. But, so, it's a delicate balance. I don't want to make it look like a golf course. Okay, yeah, so about a little bit, if you're traveling upstream and you're passing those baskets, you'll see slabs of concrete. And this is along Sweeney. You'll see the statues, there's right there. Most people don't ask any questions, but yes, so when the cemetery there was moved, and I can't tell you much about that part, they dumped the hardware, if you call it, the cement pieces from the mausoleum into the river. And actually one piece of all of the sections, it's about, I don't know, maybe 300 feet of mausoleum pieces on an outside curve. But one actually has Ewing 1876 on it. And
Really?
it's, so if you take tours, all the tours we take, we always point it out. I think last year I put a little skeleton on it. So
McCulloch Park. They moved the cemetery from McCulloch Park out to Lindenwood.
oh, there you go.
And they had to get the living member to okay it. And Bigger was not, they couldn't find anybody for Bigger, that's why he's still there.
Oh.
He was the governor
Well, there.
of Indiana.
Yeah, well, there used to be, we want to put since we take kids and people out on tours occasionally, the Teen Works youth that we had last year, We actually, as a reward for all the hard work, they removed like 12 tons of honeysuckle in a season, in a month's work. For a reward, we took them out on the barge to help litter pick. They had a blast. They'd never been on the river. They didn't matter if they're picking litter out of the river. They had a blast. They're scrabbling up and picking things. It was great. But because we do that occasionally, I try to put little Easter eggs along. So like the Ewing, we point out the Ewing, the mausoleum pieces. We put a little skeleton on the Ewing one. You know, there's plans. There's a lot of programming on the recreational side that we want to kind of.
So you put the skeleton on?
Yeah. With the crane. So it's a good picture.
Hey, to wrap up everything, is there any way that you would encourage our folks here to get on the rivers?
Absolutely. So it'll come to a time where I'm going to be launching my boat when she gets done and maintenance free. I used to pull in and out. Oh, first of all, I used to pull in and out all the time at Gilman Park. But now we're so regular, it's just logistically, it doesn't make any sense to do that and waste so much time. So she's in the river. When we're working, she's in the river. So you'll be able to see it anytime. She docks over at Gilman anytime. She's locked up and.
Oh, you're talking about your claw boat?
Yes, my barge. Yeah. I don't have any Sweet Breeze stuff, but we can make. I could probably make some calls and have a little tour because they love that stuff.
I think they're always looking for specialty tours. I feel like you would be a really cool, really cool.
If I'm not working,
Yeah.
I gotta
would
work.
encourage everyone to go on a Sweet Breeze
Yes,
tour.
yes, I love Sweet Breeze. It's a great time.
Your docent.
There you go. Yeah, it'd be fun. But I take people out on my barge as well. I've taken the kids out. I can't take too many, so we have to have a lottery system here or take turns. But it's an interesting way, and I can't do any hard work. Obviously, we wear hard hats and stuff with our crane, but it's an interesting viewpoint. Sweet Breeze is a great tour viewpoint, and the barge is a great working viewpoint. See the down and dirty, but any other? Yes, and last year was also interesting. We had the lowest recreational season flow ever, to the point where I had to put warning signs on the docks. Don't use, because the slope was so intense and somebody was going to tumble in. And the way those docks are, there are float tanks under them, like a normal dock. Those float tanks were hitting bottom, and my equipment wasn't even hefty enough to get it up and over because of the way it was torqued.
We took the Sweet Breeze out early this year because of the water.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that was me saying, hey, you got to take it out. I'm on the river. If my boat is hitting, I know your boat will hit. Yeah, it was a near thing. The boat ramp at Gilman, there actually was made by two large slabs. So if you're on that, the start of it, and then there's a seam down at the bottom, that is the middle point of that dock. So that's the same length that goes into the river, which is why it's a great boat ramp. But even with Sweet Breeze in that level, I was sweating bullets. It was a near thing. Any other questions?
Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so. Oh wait, sorry.